Today we're starting a six-handed Omaha multi-table. It was an FTOPS that I played last year. I've gotten a lot of requests for Omaha, so I really wanted to give you guys whatever you want. I really want you guys to continue to ask me and tell me what the best videos that I can do for you, because that's what I want to do. I want to do what you guys want to see from me. So today we're going to be starting 5,000 chips. We got this is Scott Clements, obviously my name right here for PokerXFactor and Full Tilt, and hopefully I'll be able to teach you a little bit about how I play a pot limit Omaha multi-table. So here we go. Pretty raggedy hand here. Out of position, king, queen, deuce, eight. I don't really feel like I'm going to play that hand, even though it's only 15 more. I just don't want to get myself in a tough decision post flop. So I just let it go. I'm gonna play pretty tight here on the early goings. I do recognize a couple players at my table, but not all of them. Player 6 is a fellow Full Tilt pro, and player 3 I recognize from playing on some of the Omaha tables, I believe. I recognize his name, but I'm not 100% sure. Try to gauge the table and see how it's playing. Sometimes not too many hands will get to showdown, but you want to try to pay attention and try to just see who's going to be bluffing, who's going to be making light calls and continuation betting and everything else. Here we have kings, but we're not going to get too crazy. You know, it's not a great hand this early. You know, not a lot to go with it. I may have had the best hand, but I'm still not going to be. I want to get myself in a really good situation. I don't want to be playing a guessing game this early. I can guess a little bit later, but right now, kings, I'm not going to re-raise and try to make a big pot. I'm going to just try to hit a king or try to hit like a real big hand. In general, that's kind of what I want to do in Omaha tournaments early. Is especially if there's soft enough spots, I'm going to play tight and try to just hit really big hands. I don't want to be gambling and put myself in tough situations. So most of the time I'm going to let other players do the betting and then just try to scoop up pots and play it small when I don't have a real big hand of the nuts, or if I do have the nuts, then try to get it bigger. Definitely could have been a raising hand here, but I decided just to call. Checking it here, you know. Just a limped in pot. I did decide to raise this. I think I was just kind of a little bit like trying to let them know that I'm not just going to limp in every time. So I did raise up that hand. I totally missed, and I just going to check fold, not going to continuation bet and try to bluff. We'll see another flop here. We're real deep stacked, so I feel like I can see some flops. That hand, on the turn, see, I had ace, queen, 10, 7. I just tried to take a stab at it. I'd had a gut shot. I had top pair. I may have had the best hand. I was hoping to take it down right then. I'm out of position, so that's not good, but I did try to take a stab. I got called in 2 spots, and a jack came. Most likely that's going to continue. That's going to give someone a straight, and there's no way that my top pair is going to be any good, so I'm just going to let it go. Sometimes, like I got a hand like that, I'll forget that I'm playing straight high, especially if I'm playing multiple tables, and I'll end up calling in a situation like that with a low hand. There was a big hand. Those are the 2 guys at the table I did not recognize. I don't fault someone, especially in an Omaha tournament, gambling early. If they have like a 2-way type hand that can not only has, like he had top 2 pair and a flush draw, so he's not going to be drawing dead. Here, let me pause this for a second. Here, what I'm doing is I'm raising up my queen, queen, 6, 6, because I'm just trying to hit a queen or a 6. If anything else, I'm just going to give it up. The flop's kind of raggedy with a deuce, 5, 7. Possibly someone could call with like a, a 4, 5, 6, 7, some type of hand, but they're going to let me know right away. I also have 2 6s, which are kind of blockers towards the type of hands that would play this flop. So I'm going to take a stab at it, my queen, queen, 6, 6, and just try to take it down right now. Everybody folded, so that's good. We did not want to see any action after that. Only one good card, or the 2 remaining queens are only my good cards on the turn. I believe having those 2 6s in there makes it a lot easier to bluff. I may have bluffed anyway with a raggedy flop like that, but it makes it a little bit more likely that everyone's going to fold if I have 2 6s. It takes that wrap draw out of there. Pretty big flop for the king 10, 9, 7 against the re-raise. I mean, you're always going to gamble there. I don't blame the aces for going all in. I probably would have played that hand the same way as he did. And you just pretty much have to go bust. You just got to hope to hold up. There we're just small pot. We had a, bottom pair. He didn't show any action towards it, and we turned a flush draw and a gut shot. We're going to just try to bet pot and take it down. Works out. Type of hands you want to play here are pretty much all hands that go all together. You want to play 4 cards connecting. Preferably, you want like nut cards. Here we're just playing our position. It's a pretty good turn card for us. We're gonna bet. Right now, our kings. I felt like that's a big hand for him to bluff right here. So Jack 4, 6. He checks. He can check a lot of hands. Turn comes a 6. I feel like he's going to fire a lot of different hands there on the turn. He could have a 6, but I do decide to call because I feel like my kings very likely could be best. The river comes the 3. So at this point, I was like, he probably was going for a check raise if he had like 3, 5, 7. I do have 1, 5, but that doesn't really change much. I mean, if he's got some sort of boat, he's probably going for a check raise too. But it's a likely spot where he's bluffing. Because if he just has the 6, I don't see him firing out when that connects to out of position against when the straight kind of connects. It could look like I have a draw. And if I have a missed spade draw, I'm just going to fold. But if I have a straight, then I'm obviously going to call. So he's either got like a big hand, or he has nothing, and he's just trying to take it down, saying I connected. Turns out he had Jack 6. I was drawing dead to the 2 kings. I did have the Jack, but so it didn't seem like pocket jacks were in there. Here's a hand that I should not have raised. I was probably a little bit frustrated that I made that call and ended up raising a raggedy hand that I shouldn't have. So I'm going to just pretty much give up now. Kind of getting short early, which is, not real short. We started with 5,000, but I've lost a third of my chips already, which is not good. So I'm going to tighten up. A little bit. You've got to play a few more hands when you're playing 6-handed. Not at a full table. You got to try to steal a few pots, and you also, you just kind of want to connect. Here's another hand that is not that great, but it's okay. I flopped 2 pair. I have a gut shot. I'm going to fire out of it. Turn brings a spade. I pretty much have to check fold. I gotta pay a little more attention and try to get a little more position on my hands. I'm not playing my best. I was playing a lot of tournaments during this time, so I really need to buckle down and not find myself in those situations. Here's a much stronger hand. They're all connected. Queen, Jack, 10, 8. Only have 1 gapper. Key card would be a 9. You'll kind of want to. Anytime you hit a bunch of your cards, you can have straight draws or and possibly a flush draw with the spades. It's only Jack high, so you got to be a little bit careful with that. But definitely, I would be calling a raise with this hand. End up just being able to limp in. I flopped the nuts here. I'm not going to slow play it. There's a rainbow flop, so no one's really going to be free rolling on me too much. I do have the pair of queens, takes out some of the full boat out to some players, so I'll bet half the pot, try to extract a little bit of value out of my hand. Turn Brent still gives me the nuts. I'm gonna bet hard, a little bit harder this time and take it down. Not a problem with taking it down there. Wouldn't have minded a call to try to get a little more value, but able to take down the pot is nice too. Haven't been seeing the strongest of hands. Would have connected there, would have been a pretty good card there on the turn for me, and probably would have won that pot, but I'm not gonna never look back and try to say like, oh, I would have won that. Here's another kind of raggedy hand that I played. Decided just to limp in, but then fold. Probably shouldn't play that under the gun. But like I said, I don't think I'm playing my A game right now in the Omaha. So I am limping a little bit too many times and not kind of seeing everything that I want to. I got to play a little bit better, more position, and try to wait for just better hands. No need to get involved, especially with a hand like Jack Deuce 4-5. Another bad hand that I'm calling raises with. So I would say like this would be right now. It's kind of don't play this loose. That would be my key to the early stages of this tournament of how I play. Need to tighten up. I got a king, queen, jack. The 8's not really a big card for me there, but I will see a flop. I'm not going to bet my jack there. It's not a real strong flop. Deuce of spades, pretty much one of the worst cards on the turn. Someone's going to have either a straight or a flush. Get rid of it. Here, like I got a suited ace and I got a pair of sevens. I'm not going to play that. Not really a big hand I can connect to the flop with. I really haven't seen a lot of strong hands here so far. So I'm kind of just hoping to wait for my time and catch a few cards and hopefully get paid off. So we left off a little bit early that time, had a little something come up and had to leave. So we are back at it here with section 2, just a few hands in. I started out a little bit, playing a little bit reckless, few too many hands, not playing as tight as I needed to be. So the key right now is going to be to buckle down, try to get play hands that go all together, no rags to go with an ace king 10, playing all with ace king queen jack 4 5 6 7, those type of hands. So here we go, and we'll start it up. Once again, raising up a little bit of a rag hand there. flopping nothing, kind of hitting nothing there, but still another hand that's not so strong in this game. Hopefully we'll be able to turn this around a little bit. There we are folding one of those raggedy hands. This hand I like a little bit better just because all the cards kind of go together. You can catch a Jack-10 flop. I ended up flopping a straight. It's a good flop for me, not great. But still, so that river card's kind of real bad. But it ends up that my straight end ends up being the winner. The tough part about that hand is you don't really. I have the queen, but I have two. I got betting right into it. Flopped a straight. I flopped the straight, but I flopped like the middle straight, you know. So it's not exactly a strength position where I really want to get it in. Someone could definitely have king queen. I don't really want to bet that while out of position. I also, another thing about it is, there's a flush draw out there. The people could be on a flush draw. We're going to let them draw to it. But if I'm betting, they're pretty much not going to give me very much action unless they have me beat. So I don't want to be betting very much. I'm probably going to call a couple times unless they're both in it. I ended up getting pretty lucky, especially three-handed. Very unlikely am I going to be good, especially after that river. When the river brings the king, that's really kind of a card that kind of makes it so, okay, probably not good anymore. Somebody could have been betting ace, queen, jack, which is unlikely, but someone very likely could be in there with a flush draw. So there's no reason to bet. Somebody definitely could have pushed me off on the river, but I think that the way it played out, everyone kind of thought that someone else must have had the flush draw, and I'm not going to be able to steal this. So ended up one guy had top set, one guy had middle set, and we were able to win a small pot with when we flopped a straight. It would have been a much different situation if it's a raised pot or raised and re-raised. Just different scenarios like that. That was just a limped pot, so you really don't want to be gambling too much or putting a lot in without the nuts. There we are. We're getting rid of those weakish type hands. May have played that with the suited ace. The 5, 7, 8 kind of goes together with all the connectors. But if we had a suited ace, we might play that to try to like connect with some sort of combination straight flush draw. We have an okay hand, not great. They don't really connect, but we do have we have queens, which is a decent hand. With the ace out there, so less likely someone has the ace. And we have some different straight possibilities. We also have a nut flush draw, so that's really good. This is all pre-flop. The flop we got was decent. We're not just going to check behind. We kind of want to isolate the field. Don't want to let anyone with a 6-10 or just a pair of 10s like get in there and connect with like one of their 4s or something and hit 2 pair against us. So we're going to bet, try to at least limit the field. We do have a draw. We have any king nut clubs gives us the nuts. Any 8 gives us the nuts. So those are both good cards. A queen is probably a good card for us, but someone could definitely be in there with ace, king, queen, or sometime a hand like that, or even 7, 8, 9. So, but we're gonna bet it. See what the turn is. Turn's a 7. Completes the 8, 9. Somebody could have 2 pair for sure right there. Not gonna bet right into it now, because if he has 8, 9, he's gonna just jam it back in our face, and then we're gonna have to fold. We're gonna take the conservative route, check, and kind of see what their action is on the river. Also see if the river maybe helps us out. River ends up connecting with our straight. We got the nut straight now. We have both queens, which makes it less likely someone else has that. So we kind of want to make it. We want to make a bet. We're hoping that we get called here, obviously with the nuts, but we don't want to be scaring them off. So we're going to bet about 2/3 of the pot. Hopefully they've got some sort of 2-pair hand and think that we have a missed flush draw. So that's what we're going to hope that they think. Ended up folding, but we still ended up taking down the pot and finally are on the upswing a little bit. Excuse me. got a pretty raggedy hand in the big blind, but we're going to see it for free. Flop second set here. Here, what we did was we flopped second set. The guy's betting position. It's unlikely that, I mean, it's probably just trying to take it down because it's a limped pot and thinks that he'll be able to just take down that pot because that flop is pretty raggedy. It's just not going to connect with too many hands. I mean, we're both in the big blind, so he's going to try to just bet it, but not too many hands are really going to connect. You know, tens, fives, deuces, or like a 3-4-6 type hand, or ace 3-4-6. And we ended up flopping second set. We're going to play it a little bit slow. Check, let them bet. So he bets. We just flat call, which you really could go either way. I really didn't put the player on much, so I decided to flat call, and I'll take my adjustments later to see if, right now the straight now has connected with the board. We also have a 10. So it's unlikely that the person just had like some sort of 10. And unlikely that we're behind on the flop because he'd have to have the two case 10s to win. So once again, we're going to check, see what they do. River comes an ace. We're going to hope to get paid off by some sort of two-pair hand once again. We don't put them on 3-4. We're pretty sure they're going to try to bet the turn with 3-4. I think that it may have been better to just check raise the flop, maybe try to get them to either make a move at the pot, but you get yourself in kind of tough situations. Excuse me. Any ace, 3, 4, or 6 is going to connect with the straight, and then on the turn, I'm pretty much going to have to either lead into it or try to check raise when the person's most likely going to check any hands he was bluffing on the flop. So it probably would have been better to either raise on the flop or probably would have been just better to raise into him on the flop and try to either take it down or at least get them to try to make a move. Here we limped in. It's a tiny pot, 180 chips in there. Nothing to really like try to be going and jumping at. We start with 5,000 chips. 180 isn't really what we're going for. We have king, queen. We flop top 2 pair, but there's a flush draw out there, and that also jack 10 beats us. We're not going to lead into it because we're just not going to get action by that many hands that like we have beat. Like maybe we get a call by like a king 9, but we're also going to be playing the guessing game out of position. Turn comes an ace. Can definitely connect with any 2-pair hands. If the guy's got ace king, ace queen, ace 9, any of those hands beat us, and you could also still have the jack 10. So we check again. The guy bets pot on the turn. We're just going to give it up. There's no reason to play a guessing game at this point in the tournament. Here's a hand. It's not a real strong hand, but I do have position. I like to try to play more hands in position. You definitely have a huge advantage in Omaha being in position because you are last act. You get to represent all the different hands that other people can't. You always get to see what every other player does, and it's just that much bigger in Omaha than it is in Hold'em to have position because there's so many more drawing possibilities. And players really out of position, like you saw with the set of 5s, it gives them so much power to be able to see 2 free cards. I should have raised the flop when I flopped like the second nuts because I'm really not going to get action by too many hands unless I let them get there. So if I would have had position in that hand, I could have flat called the flop. He checks to me, I bet the turn, and I'll probably take it down right there, or he has to pay to draw. Out of position, I had to lead into him. It's a decent flop for me right here. Not great, but I flop top and bottom pair, and I have a gut shot. There's no flush draws out there, so I feel strong just kind of betting it and trying to take it down right now because somebody could have a wide variety of draws. Anybody could have ace, queen, jack 9, any of those type of hands, and even king 10, or some sort of other set like kings or 10s or 8s or any of those hands. So we're hoping this 300 just takes it down right now because there's not a lot of strong turn cards we can catch. We feel like we have the best hand, but to get a lot of action is kind of still a precarious situation, and we have to kind of see what happened after. We're hoping this 300 bet just takes down the pot. It does. We can there. Got some rags here on the big blind. Here we flopped, we have the second nut flush draw, queen high flush draw. I don't like to get in there too much with that. Our key card here is going to be a 4 because we also have a gut shot. I mean, we have some other sort of draws, like if the backdoor draw is like if a 10 or 9 comes, so we'll have another straight draw with the queen 8. But really, our key card here would be a 4 on the turn. We play cautiously with a heart, but we would want to bet out and try to get someone to fold, or to get value out of someone who has 2 pair. It's a very good turn card for me. I mean, it was a 4, but it wasn't the exact 4 that I wanted. I should have bet out on the turn. Still a very weak move by me. I should not have just checked behind when the original player and hoping that player 2 bets. I got the second nut flush. I need to find out, make sure it's good. You know, most players are not going to raise me unless they either have the dry king of hearts or they have the king high flush. So I need to bet out and try to isolate the field. I mean, I guess they could also have 3-5 of hearts. Here now I'm going to be stuck in a spot where I'm probably going to call, and I'm probably going to be guessing whether I'm good or not. So I bet 350 into the river when the deuce comes, and I get min raised. I'm not sure if I should have folded here. I folded because I didn't see the player. The way that this hand played out, I figured the person had to have a vote to be min raising here. Like I said, I should have bet the turn. Maybe I lose a little more money if I bet the turn, but I'm at least like betting for value. I'm not sure whether I should have folded this. It kind of took a while in trying to decide whether I should call with the second nut flush, but it was just kind of a tough spot. The guy made a raise. This player checked. Sometimes I see players bluff with a min raise, but usually it's trying to get a little bit of value out of maybe an ace-2 type of hand or something like that. So they don't want to. They might fold if I reshove, but they might not. But they're trying to get a little bit of value, or they possibly could have had a bigger hand like jacks and trying to get me to shove a hand like ace deuce. So I don't know. It was a tough decision right here, but I ended up folding for the 350 more, even though I was getting 5-1 on my money. It just felt like I was not going to be good. So I ended up folding. I felt like the player is probably expecting at least a call, so I ended up folding. I really hate the way I played that hand, by the way. I should have led into him on the turn with about $400 bet. I got an okay hand here. Ace Jack, Jack 9. I'd rather have a little bit like that ace. I would actually rather probably be a king, a queen, or a 10 to try to give myself a little more connectors in there. But it is an ace. Guy makes a min raise on the button. We're gonna call. We go to that position. We got an okay flop. We got open-ended straight draw. And we have the jacks. And we have backdoor flush draw. Probably see a bet here if it's that. Flop checked around. Turn. Player bets out of the big blind, 120. Still got the open-ended straight draw. And we got the pair of jacks. So, you know, we're going to see a turn card. No straights or flushes out there yet. River's a 7. That's an okay card for us. We're possibly good with the jacks. I mean, it's unlikely, but it's not a horrible card, and probably we're hoping no one bets. We had ace, king, king, 10. So we were in a little bit worse shape than we thought. He had 2 of the kings, and we had, obviously we couldn't catch the jack either because that would give him the straight. Here we got, I like hands like this. Player raises from early position, another player calls. Most people are going to be playing bigger cards in general. We have all connected cards, just a 1 gap here between the 4 and the 6. Obviously, it would be a little bit nicer if it was started with the 4, about 4, 5, 6, 8, or something, some sort of hand like that. But this still, I'm double suited and catch some big flops where I can make a lot of money. But I'll also be able to give it up if I do not hit. Horrible flop for me. Just check fold, get rid of it, wait for the next time. Here we got an okay hand here. We have ace, jack, 10, 3. We got a suited ace and a suited jack. So we got 2 flush draws. We have 3 cards. We got the straggler with the 3, but it's still a playable hand, especially 6-handed. We're going to try to make a continuation bet on this flop. We flopped pretty much nothing. We got a gut shot and a backdoor nut flush draw. Not a great flop. I mean, we have some backdoors, straight draws, but if you don't have that, I mean, you pretty much, it's tough to not have anything on the flop with Omaha. We backdoor, consider the backdoor. We're going to try to just make a continuation bet. We've been playing pretty solid and try to just take it down. Player 2 folded, got a little respect, and we're able to take down the pot. That's nice. Here's a raggedy hand that we decided to play. We do have a pair of 10s. The blinds are still relatively small. I'm pretty much playing this hand to try to flop a set of 10s. I do have the 2 flush draws, so there's other possibilities that can come in. But the main reason I'm just playing this hand is I'm pretty much just trying to flop a set of 10s and trying to get a lot of money. I do have some other situations that can happen, but this is usually what I do, and I'm going to try to, I would obviously try to check raise if I hit the 10. Flop was okay. I flopped open-ended straight draw. It's not great, but I've seen worse flops. We're not going to try to take a fire at it. We're just going to check. Turn comes a 4 of clubs. It's 100% rainbow. Still going to just check it down, and then we'll see. Hopefully, we'll catch an ace or a 9 on the river. Oh, he ended up betting with on the turn. We called because he made a small bet 360 into about 720, half the pot. We're taking our 3-to-1 odds. A lot of situations where it's a weird bet for him to make there on the turn. That 4 probably didn't connect with too many hands unless he's got like a 5, 6, 7. The river comes to jack. Checks, and we actually got, obviously we got lucky down the river. He had an ace, 3, 4, 8. A pretty bad hand, but he had 2 pair, and we did get lucky on the river, but we did have quite a few outs. Any king, jack, ace, 9, or 10 would have been a winner for us. Here, this is a pretty decent hand. We got ace, king, queen, 7, double suited. I like this. Obviously, I'd rather have this 7 up in the jack or the 10 range, but 6-handed, you just you got to play the hands that are dealt to you. This is a decent hand. We totally missed the flop. We're just going to check fold, but I would recommend playing hands like this. You want to catch some sort of jack 10 flop with a couple of hearts where you can catch a big draw, or flop, obviously, a made hand would be nice too. It's an interesting bet by him on the river. I believe that player 2 is possible that this player does like to bluff the rivers. I've seen quite a few players that kind of wait till the river and then they kind of fire in their bluffs, Omaha, because they think everyone else missed. So that could be the type of player this player is. He could have been bluffing with that min raise on the river because that deuce he thought did not connect with me. But once again, he did that pot on the river. He could have had a bunch of hands where he connected on the river, but it's unlikely, and we're going to take that into consideration. Not going to 100% agree with, like, or make all our decisions based on that, but we will take that into consideration when making our decisions. Finally spent a little time folding, which is probably good. I was playing way too loose, and I think that is probably, I play my worst in Omaha when I'm playing loose. I play my best when I'm playing tight and kind of just wait for hands and wait for my time. Sometimes it's harder for me to have patience online than it is in live scenarios. Yep, folding those rags on the button. Ace 5, 8, 9 is not the type of hands we're trying to play. No King, Jack, 4, 5s in there. We have a decent hand. No suits, but usually we're trying to hit straights and not flushes in this situation anyway. Deuce 4, 5, 6, they're all connected. I do like those type of hands. Always better to have them a little bit higher. We obviously totally missed the flop, but anytime, like, that's kind of the hands you're trying to look for, is the ones that are all connected. So if the cards come near you, you're going to flop a big hand and not just like an okay hand. We'll limp in here with the King 3, 5, 7. Hope for a 4, 6 type flop. Totally bricked out. Just let it go. See a lot of people playing hands like double suited cards, like Jack 10. Like they might have like a Jack 10, 3, 4 double suited, and they'll play those type of hands. Like, I don't mind that if it's late in the tournament and you got a nice little chip lead and people are folding to you and you're able to punish them. I've definitely used that before. But when you're talking about early in the tournament, you're just going to force yourself into a lot of tough decisions. And you don't really want to do that. You want to try to get yourself in there with the easier decisions where you know you have a big hand. We got 2 pair. Nobody's really taking a fire at the flop. I don't know what I'm doing in there with this hand, King, Queen, 9, 6. I think, like I said, I think I'm getting bored again. Ended up limping in. I do have 2 pair here on the turn. I'm going to just try to fire out the pot and try to get anyone to fold. Any sort of 5, 7, 9 or diamond draw, 3, 4, 5 type hand with big draw. And luckily I had enough high position, so they'd have to bet into me on the river. I'm checking any river except if the queen or a 6. If they call and then the river comes, any queen or 6 comes, I'll probably bet. Any other card, I'm just going to check behind. There's a little bit better hand. These are all together. Definitely going to call. Flop was okay for me. I mean, I flopped top pair, and I'm up against one opponent. Not a horrible flop, not a great flop. You kind of want to connect with a little bit better than that. Turn comes with 4 hearts. Once again, we're just going to check, see where they're at. They bet half the pot. Could mean nothing. They're just trying to take it. They could mean they have a straight. They could have had like an ace-deuce type hand. Could mean they have a heart draw. So many different scenarios can happen right now. They could have 6, 7. But we're still going to call. We have top pair. May or may not be good. Still not a real strong hand. And then we have the flush draw. Kind of we want to see where they're at. We're out of position, so we're just going to call. River was 8 of hearts. We found ourselves in earlier situations where we were not getting enough value when we were hitting. So we're going to lead right into it. Hopefully they think we have some sort of other hand that is not as strong as this, that did not connect with the hearts, and if they raise us, we're probably just going to have to give it up. But we're going to bet half the pot with the flush and hopefully get paid off. We get paid off. They actually flopped a pretty big hand with the gut shot and the flush draw, and they hit the key card on the turn with the straight. So they did have us beat. Here, once again, we flop bottom pair here. Nothing to sneeze at. Probably just going to check fold. Well, that's actually a decent card there on the turn. We now have a diamond draw to go with our pair of threes. Not a great card, but they, if they bet pot here on the turn, we're probably going to let it go. We have no other straight draws or anything. So, but they only bet half the pot. We're going to see a river. We ended up catching a 3. Once again, I found myself in a checking situation. I should have let out into that turn, try to get paid off by a jack or an 8. I think that I find myself checking in these situations too much. Kind of, I think I'm playing a bunch of hold'em games, and I kind of think, oh, I just hit my key card. Maybe I can check raise on the river, and that doesn't work as well in Omaha. People check behind on the rivers without big hands all the time. So this is a situation where you should lead out into the river. Most people are not going to be crafty enough to raise you on the river, and if this player would have raised us on this river, we probably would have ended up calling, because he's bet into the river a few times before. And that may also have been in my thinking, was the fact that this is the player that has liked to bluff the rivers before. He's probably got some sort of jack or some sort of hand like that where he had a lot of value in just checking behind and having us have a misdraw. So we should have bet the river. He had jack 6, so definitely should have bet the river. Another rag hand. And then I decided to play 4-4-5-8. Pretty bad hand. Ended up getting lucky enough to flop a straight with it, but I wouldn't recommend playing hands like this. You want that other 4 to be a 6 or a 7 if you're going to play hands like this. So, but we'll bet into it. We'll take it down with the straight. It's just stone cold luck right there. I don't mind playing hands like this. 6 and the 9 and the 10 kind of go together, and I got a suited ace. So it's definitely not a horrible hand to play. Definitely going to fold it once we get that action on the turn.